for today's meeting, there was a link to a very short survey, and it's really designed to get information to make these meetings more meaningful for y'all. So for programming purposes, when's a good time? What topics are interesting to see? Are there particular folks in the criminal justice world that you'd like to hear from in terms of like positions or roles? So we want to make this as good for y'all as possible. So please do complete that at some point today so we can get the information and bring good programming to these meetings. Well, so we're going to start with a poll question, and then we're going to have a presentation, and we'll have an introduction of our speakers in just a second. So, Kanitra, can you launch the first question? Thank you. Well, we've got about 60% of you have answered. Just a few more. Well, that looks like about everyone who's going to answer. Let's see what we've got. Can y'all see that? So it looks like pretty evenly split between who has paper-based applications that you'd like to automate and those who don't. Well, maybe we'll see here today about some ideas that might even change that number at the end of the day. Well, so moving on, Joel, I heard you were traveling this weekend. How did it go?
Oh my goodness. I was going through the Amarillo area. I was arrested.
Oh no.
It was a horrible experience. I went before a magistrate and I was like, I don't think I need counsel, but now I'm back in Austin and I think I need to request counsel, but it's like 8 hours away. How am I going to get up there and do it? I don't have a car. What am I going to do? So I don't know. I'm just perplexed.
Well, Joel, it's a good thing we've got our presenters here today. We've got some experts on how appointed counsel works in Amarillo. So we've got a couple more poll questions, but first I want to introduce our presenters. We've got Haley Hotchkiss, who's the administrator for the Potter and Armstrong Managed Assigned Counsel System. Haley worked for the DA's office for about 7 years as a legal secretary and software specialist before becoming the jack of all trades to get stuff done and get appointments made out at Potter and Armstrong. She prides herself on being sure all the appointments go out before she gets out of the office each day. We also have with her the office manager for the public defender's office. And of course, my script is not cooperating. There we go. Amy Connor. Amy, in addition to working at the DA's office, has been a secretary for the 251st and 181st District Courts, and also is a paralegal for an attorney in private practice. Amy was instrumental in setting up a lot of the MAC and a lot of its systems. So they're going to be talking to us about their programs. However, before we get there, Kanitra, could we get our next poll question? So for our next poll, how can defendants in your jurisdiction request counsel? Are they in court only? Are they at the jail? Are they in person at your office? Is there an online or email option? Or can they do it by phone? And unlike most polls, you get to select everything that applies. So we've got, not counting us, probably about 15 people in the chat and already got about a quarter of answers. And so far, it's pretty evenly distributed. Getting close to right at half. Getting closer, and looks like the jail is in the lead, followed by court with in-person and at your office. And then phone is by far the least frequent option. Looks like we've got everybody. Let's go ahead and end the poll, and I'll share it. So as you can see, everybody says you can request counsel at the jail. Almost everybody. You can also request counsel in court. Just behind that is people can come into your office and get an attorney. And then we've got right at 2/3 of you have an online option or an email option. Hopefully with the presentation today, this may give you a way to automate that and cut down on any manual processes you're dealing with. And then about 1/3 of y'all have a very creative option to do it on the phone as well to make it as accessible as possible. So we've got one more poll question for you. Kenitra, can we launch the next one?
They launched at the same time because of the way the poll is written, but
Did I
and
close
most,
it too early?
yeah, but they launched at the same time. If you open
Okay,
open the
there we
poll
go.
again, you can see the responses.
All right, so looks like everybody's answered our second question as well, which is how can defendants request counsel in your court? Pardon me, that was our first one. Why am I not seeing the second? Kenitra, can you see the second question?
So the second question is, can defendants, either detained or released from custody, easily notify you if their attorney never meets with them? And 14 out of 15 respondents said yes. Can you see it?
I found it now. If y'all are looking at it, scroll down and you'll be able to see it on the share screen.
There we
So
go. Yeah,
that's really great. Everybody's got an option to easily notify you if there's problems with their attorney. And again, not just are we going to be talking about ways to automate appointment of counsel, but Potter and Armstrong have got some really unique ways to deal with getting information back from especially those people who are detained pretrial at the jail. So with that, let me start our PowerPoint, and then I'm going to throw it over to Haley and Amy.
Ready? Okay. So we're just going to go over how we have automated our process for the financial statements, and also our defendant complaints that we receive from the jail, directly from the jail over their tablet system. If you'll go to the next slide. Okay, and then if you'll hover over that, it'll give you the option to push play. Okay, so at the top, since our public defender's office has expanded, it will give them the option to, if they're in a different county, to go ahead and select one of the outside counties that we have expanded to. Then we just go through the process of the application, which most of you are probably familiar with. General information, name, age, gender. Then we will get into if there's a language barrier, race. If they're a veteran, that will qualify them possibly for some specialty courts. Then we will go into the household situation if they have dependents. Their income source. I'm sorry, it didn't grab the drop-down box. There are a few different options as far as their income sources. So food stamps, child support, if they are employed, HUD, Medicaid, any of those things would apply, which will also set for the qualifications as a hard stop that, of course, they would automatically qualify based on receiving government assistance. Then it takes you into the expenses that the defendant is responsible for. You can set these up as granular as you would like. You know, everything from rent, gasoline, food, medical expenses. If their home is paid for, their insurance and taxes. Then there's always an option for other that we can kind of make notes with as well. The assets, I didn't grab that either, but we've got that set up as their accounts, like your checking account, savings account. You can also add as many things to that as you'd like, as far as if they own land, property, around here, cattle, anything that they might be able to let go of to retain counsel. We do go ahead and grab their employer information, kind of as we want to know that information, but also as a last ditch effort if we're trying to round somebody up. Then it's going to ask for the charges, the case number if they have it on hand. If they're unable to gather that information at magistrations, of course, I do have access to that at the office and can make additional notes once the financial is gathered and sent over to me. This will ask if they're currently in jail and need an attorney. If they're not, they've been out on bond, then there's an online option for them to fill this out. Then that will require the bond amount as part of their information. Again, if that's something that they don't know, then I can always look that up and fill that information in for them later as I'm processing the application. We do gather information as to how many times they've been incarcerated in TDCJ or state jail facility. This last page is going to be where they are swearing that all the information is true and correct, and that allow their signature. Yeah, and then at the bottom here where they allow their signature. So by clicking yes to both of these, then that's their oath that they're certifying that everything that was gained in the financial information was true and correct. Again, it didn't do the screen grab, didn't add that last drop down box. Some of the things we have in there as far as who helped them fill out the application would be like myself or Amy as an advocate, since we aren't an attorney. Of course, there's an attorney in there, or if they're incapacitated, or a bondsman. Sometimes the bondsman will help them fill out the application in their office. If you'll go to the next slide. Okay, so this is what the queue looks like once the financial is complete. It sends it over to a queue to me that of course I've checked throughout the day. And then the next day I will always go back to the previous day and make sure and check those. I learned that the hard way, that sometimes people will submit an application late hours of the evening, early hours of the morning before we get to work. So we'll check the previous day and then we'll just kind of continue forward to our next day. And if you'll go to the next slide. So here's what the financial looks like once it comes to me in the defendant's case profile. This information allows the public defender that's out at magistrations that day all the information they need to negotiate a fair bond amount. I get these in real time, so I'm generally able to do appointments just as they're flowing in. Sometimes I have to wait depending on, we do appointments out of Odyssey, so there might be some hours delay during the day as I'm waiting on them to enter cases that weren't a warrant case and that hadn't been entered. But other than that, it's a pretty immediate turnaround on the appointments. If the application is rejected, we do have a letter that's generated, a rejection letter, and it's either sent out to the jail or to the address that we're given during the interview. If it is rejected, that letter does contain information on how they are able to appeal that with the courts. They may need to bring pay stubs, any other information on financial hardships that they have that might help them to qualify. The judge can then override that decision and we'll go ahead and make an appointment. If I do send a rejection letter out if they're incarcerated at the time that they're rejected, I like to check back on those within about a week or so to see if they are still in jail. They may have not qualified at the time, but the arrest may have caused caused an issue with their employer and possibly the loss of their job. So at that point, we can reevaluate the financial, make notes, and go ahead and accept their application and get the appointment done, so that they aren't sitting in jail too terribly long without representation. If you will go to the next slide, please. So the next one, we are very mental health focused here in our office. It's a big part of what we do and what we believe in. A small percentage, of course, of the people that are arrested, they do have the funds and are going to go ahead and refuse when they're asked if they would like counsel at magistrations, and they do go on to retain their own counsel. We also get people that are, come in, they may have just suffered a traumatic experience. They might be detoxing, so they're not brought out to magistrations at that time. For those folks, we like to give them about 24 hours, then we'll revisit them. Generally, someone at magistrations the next day, if they're able to pull them down to go through that process, we will allow them to go ahead and do that. Otherwise, if it's a long-term situation, we might send a mental health person from our office out with an attorney to see what we can do for them. Sometimes 24 hours, 48 hours gives them time to calm down, and then they're able to speak with the attorney and kind of let us know what their needs are. We do unfortunately have frequent flyers that we recognize with diagnosed mental illnesses. I'm fortunate to have access to our jail program, which does list some tags as far as mental health, suicide watch, if they are a consumer of our local mental health program, TPC. Then I will go on to make the call, even if they refuse an attorney, to go ahead and appoint them a mental health certified appointed attorney at that point. And the next slide, please. So in Potter County, we hold a weekly misdemeanor arraignment at our county courthouse. One of our other staff members, Samantha, she will go over to the courthouse. We have a little spot that they've reserved for us. These are clients that are on bond who have either not retained counsel or have not applied for an appointed attorney. We also hold a monthly felony status docket. We used to go over to the district court building for this. We just weren't getting the turnout that we liked. So we gathered the court coordinators. Luckily, we were all in agreement that we could hold that on site at our office, in hopes that taking it out of a court setting might get us a little bit better turnout for our dockets. It seems to have worked. We do tend to get a little bit better turnout for those indicted felony cases to get them appointments. And if you'll go to the next slide, please. So when folks show up for these dockets, we do have, as you see, we've got a QR code here on the right-hand side. We've got those posted at the courthouse. We also have them posted here in our office. So if we have a lengthier docket, we will ask those with cell phones to go ahead and scan the QR code and get the financial process started. This also allows us to kind of hold hands with the people that might not have a cell phone or are a little bit more challenged with technology these days. So we can walk through that process with them face to face, go ahead and get their appointments finished. Then by the time the other people on the docket are ready to be called in, most of their financial is already filled out. We can kind of review that with them if they have any questions or anything they need to add, or if they, said, I entered something wrong, then we've got the chance to edit that for them, check everything over, see if they qualify. And then Samantha goes ahead and does the appointment there on the spot, and then they're just free to go. Same thing with our status docket here at the Santa Fe building. It's just kind of a way to expedite the process. A lot of times people have to take off work. They've got kids at home with the babysitter, one thing or another. So the easier we can get them in and out is more helpful kind of for everyone. And if you'll go to the next slide, please. So mainly for our felony status docket, I get this docket probably, sometimes a couple weeks ahead of time. So I am able to run through the docket, see if we have current financial information on these people. And if I don't, I can reach out to them, or a lot of times I will send out a list to their bondsmen a few days prior to when the docket's going to be held. They are available to go to our website here where the arrow is. And if they click on that link, it takes you to the exact financial form that I showed you guys in the beginning. So this keeps them from having to appear at the courthouse, appear here at the office. We can just get everything taken care of. You know, a lot of people may not have a car, they might have health issues. We do run into clients that may have other pending charges, but then they also have an active warrant. So we can have them fill out the financial online without the risk of them getting arrested. A lot of times we can get them an appointed attorney, and then they can stage a walkthrough with the jail. So it's a little more convenient with them. They don't have to go through the whole bookend. I mean, they have to do the book in and book out situation. It's just expedited. So this has definitely helped our office increase communication with our clients, and also just keeping them with their daily lives. I know a lot of people have to work. It's hard for them to get off. And especially like Joel was saying, if you live out of town, change your mind and, you know, want to go ahead and apply online, then that's another resource for them. Next slide, please. And does anybody have any questions before we go on to the gel tablets?
So just
I
to
have a question.
highlight one thing about your QR codes,
Mhm.
y'all literally got those everywhere someone that has a case might go in the courthouse. They're outside
Yes.
the courtrooms, they're in the courtrooms, they're in your office, they're by the elevators, just about everywhere possible to facilitate people making their applications.
Right, and we also make sure that all of our bonding agencies have copies of it as well.
I have a question. When people are filling out the application form and they see the other, do you guys help them to jog the memory about what might be included in other? I find that sometimes people forget what that means, or like they'll have expenses but just forget about it. And one of the most popular ones that people forget about is prior criminal justice debt, a prior criminal legal debt. Wondering if you guys kind of,
Yeah,
if you're
what are
going
some-
through that.
Yeah, that's just kind of our catch-all, you know, but we do take a lot of phone calls, or if we see something that says other, especially for an online application where we weren't face-to-face with them, or, you know, at the courthouse, a situation to where they weren't able to communicate with us if they needed help with the form. A lot of times I am able to tell if this was done online independently from a client. It lists the names a little bit different at the bottom. It won't have one of the public defenders on there. So I'll screen those, and a lot of times they will call, or if I'm missing something or it says other and I just don't have a whole lot of information, I will reach out to the number that they listed, or if I can't get a hold of them that way, possibly the phone has turned off or phone numbers changed quite a bit. I'll reach out to their bonding agency to have them get in contact with us, or just send them, you know, a lot of times the bonding agencies will just send them directly over to our office.
Any other questions for Haley and Amy before we move on to their creative use with the tablets for the jail? Ladies?
Okay, we are very fortunate to have good communication with our jail staff. They've been very helpful. This is something that I don't think they had to do for us, but like I said, we've got great relationships with our jail staff that they've allowed us this program. It's an immediate way for clients to reach out to our director if they're having issues with their attorney, or it also helps with people that may have slipped through the cracks. Hey, I've been sitting here for 2 weeks and I don't have an appointed attorney. I'll go ahead and look at at their financial, see what happened, or if I don't have a financial for them, that kind of goes back to some of our mental health situations. Maybe they were violent or detoxing at the time and were never brought down. And then nobody revisited that person to bring them back down to magistrations to have a financial filled out for representation. So if you will pop over to the next slide, I'll kind of give you an example of what this looks like. So this is what the grievances come in as. It looks a little bit small. It asks for some detailed information, what their issue is. This allows our director's one that checks these. I fill in from time to time. We get some details. It allows you at the top there, you can forward that complaint. Either the director will forward it to himself and attach a note of his own to the attorney. Hey, you need to get a hold of this person by X date, or what, kind of send him a message of what's going on with this guy. Is this true? Have you been in contact with him? Kind of give him a chance to explain what's going on. Then we've got there at the bottom, you can respond directly to the inmate. A lot of times the director will let them know, hey, I've reached out to your attorney. I've given him to this date to resolve this issue with you. If you haven't heard from him, or you feel like we haven't come to a resolution, then go ahead and send me another message back. This seems to work pretty well, especially that they're getting this ahead of an actual grievance through the bar. So like I said, we're very fortunate to have the relationships we do with our jail staff to allow us this program. And I think that's basically all that we do with the jail tablet system, other than just the response. Once we've responded, it doesn't allow them, you can't chat back and forth. So we'll respond to them once, and then if there's an issue later on down the line, then they will go ahead and have to create a new grievance form. There's also been times that I've received grievance forms and the person is speaking, making no sense, kind of just random conversation in the notes part. And so at that point, I might check on the tags at the jail, see what's going on with this person, and then possibly reach out to the appointed attorney and offer them the assistance of one of our mental health liaisons to, do we need to go out and make them a visit, see if they're a mental health consumer here in town, or just any kind of assistance that they might need from us to see what we can do to help this person if they're not receiving their meds, or if they're not taking their meds, one thing or another. We try to get to the bottom of what's going on with those. So this has definitely been a helpful tool for our office. And then if you will go to the next slide, I think that's all that we've got. Does anybody have any questions on the jail tablet system?
How did you guys set this up?
The jail actually set this up for us. The tablet system's in place. They're able to make like a FaceTime call, for lack of a better term. And then through that, the system was there. It just had never been put in place. And so once the Mac was created, that's something we really fought for our clients. We thought that this would also be a way, when if the attorneys are waiting at a docket call and just sitting, this also gives them time to kind of review things that are going on with their clients. We are working on, I think our next step is possibly trying to work with kind of not a teledoc situation, but if we've got mental health consumers that are at the jail, an easier way for either our mental health caseworkers or our local health consumer TPC for them to reach out and not necessarily have to drive out to the jail. Or if this person is in a violent situation, one thing or another, that they can't be brought down, or if the jail is understaffed, one thing or another, we're trying to work on something to where we can do a video conference with those mental health consumers.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the tablets?
Could I ask a question about the prior system for the remote counsel request? What kind of software do you use to do that? Is it all through Odyssey, and is it like a standard feature?
Okay, for the appointments,
That's correct.
the actual generating the appointment form, so all that's through Odyssey right now, so. I'm hoping to eventually with Amy's help to be able to do everything out of Legal Server and keep it all within one program. Just makes it a little more consistent. So we're aiming at that. It's gonna take a little work to finish building that part out, but yeah, that our goal is to do everything out of one program instead of having to jump back and forth to keep everything in one spot.
One more question on your automation piece. How did you go about setting up the QR codes? Is that just something you did online, or how would a county go about doing that?
Yeah, so since the online intake process is a web-based program, that's all run through basically a website. We were able to just go out to I think we Googled it and said, ask for a QR generator. You plug in your website address and it just pops out the QR code for you.
Thank you. Other questions?
Was it Amy who did the programming like internally for y'all, or who programmed that website that has the online form?
Well, I built the website, but Amy
Right.
is responsible for most everything Legal Server. So she created the form. She was kind of in charge of the whole Legal Server side, and then I was more working on building out our website. So it was kind of a team effort there.
Okay, so yeah, it wasn't like an off-the-shelf product then. You did it yourself.
No.
You didn't have Potter County information technology.
No.
That's great. I mean,
Thank you.
that means this could be done by our folks on this call and not necessarily IT departments. Gotcha. Yeah.
A lot of Googling and YouTube videos.
Okay.
So related question, I'm sure folks are saying, okay, it's online. What was the cost involved to set it up besides your time?
To have the form online.
Correct.
Other than the program itself, the cost of the software program for Legal Server, that was it. The link from the online intake portion, so that's our dedicated link, and so from there I just grabbed that and added it to the website. So yeah, other than the fees for the actual case management and online intake program, that was all.
Very cool. Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Hearing none, while we've got everybody together, are there any challenges that anyone's running into that you'd like to brainstorm and see what solutions the group might have?
Doesn't have to be related to the presentation. Consider this your open floor.
All right. I think I'd just like to announce that we are recording this. I think we'll put this on YouTube. And so this has been very informative, and I think we'll have a lot of interest online for it.
Yeah, and if there's anything we can do to help, of course, feel free to reach out.
Much appreciated, Haley. Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
And another reminder on the calendar contact that had the Zoom link for the meeting today, there's another link for a survey. So we really appreciate it if y'all would complete that. to help us pick the right day of the week that most of y'all can, participate, as well as topics and people you'd like to hear from as part of these meetings. So this is your chance to, guide the conversation going forward.
Well, thank you, everyone. We're glad to see you. We'll look forward to seeing you again at our next meeting. We're tentatively aiming for quarterly, but again, give us your feedback on the survey so we can be sure we're both addressing topics and speakers and working with your schedules with it. We look forward to seeing you at our next Indigent Defense Coordinator Meet-up.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good day.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.